down to the abyssal lair of the radiophonic sea creatures. Grab two 20s and jam them together because I, Tokyo Choo Choo, am going to be your host today. And with me, as always, are two men who like to jam 20 dildos in their grandmother's mailbox every month. It's Human Metal and Brack. How are you guys? How are you, Human Metal?
A person with a very confused grandma, apparently.
Yeah, for sure.
What even?
She only needs 15.
Yeah. Hey, it gets tougher if you get when you get older. Anyway.
Yeah, that's literally true. Literally.
So, I'm fine today. I wasn't fine yesterday. Because I saw a little movie that Breck actually is going to talk about. So, Breck, how did you feel about watching that movie when you did?
Oh, I was feeling fine watching that movie. I'm of course talking about the best movie of 2019, Cats. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And pop quiz. Who's your favorite cat in Cats?
Oh, fucking no. I don't even remember who any of these people, cats are. Cat people. Freaks of nature, fuck faces are.
For me, it obviously has to be Skibble Shanks, the railway cat. Or maybe Cos, the theater cat, I'm not sure. Or maybe it's Idris Elba as McCafferty.
The worst villain in movie history, maybe.
You
Most
say that,
inefficient.
but I think he could beat Thanos, I'm pretty sure. He has the same powers as Thanos, right? He makes people go up in smoke by clicking his hands together.
I guess, and they just come back again, just like in Avengers, so... I mean, it went a path by a bit quicker in Cats. But the movie in general felt way too long.
And I think, Thanos' sidekicks are kind of boring, right? I don't really care about his sidekicks. Idris Elba, he has a cat that looks like Ray Winston, played by Ray Winston. So that I think he already has a way better cat sidekick.
One of his sidekicks is Taylor Swift. Who knew?
Oh yeah, that's also one of the sidekicks.
It's crazy. Fucking coming down on a styrofoam moon and just throwing catnip cum drugs at cat people.
Oh yeah, that was a little bit too actually, I can say that about the entire movie, but that scene in general was way too sexualized. But this entire movie is way too sexualized.
That movie is horny beyond belief. And considering everyone in it is a fucking furry, makes you kind of uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable. That movie is thirsty for milk, that's all I'm saying.
Oh boy, yeah, that's damn true if I've heard anything. Holy shit. Goddamn, I watched a movie with a colleague of mine, and we knew beforehand that it's gonna be a fucking disaster. Exactly, that's what I said to the lady cashier when I purchased the tickets. I said 2 tickets for the disaster, please, and she was like, "What?" It was like Cats, and she's, "Oh, okay." And yeah, then we got in there, and then the magic started, and I was just fucking floored at what I was watching. It's just the question burning in my head for the entirety of the movie was, how did you get the money for this? How did that happen? Why is Judi Dench in here? Why is Ian McKellen in here? I guess they are in their the stage of their life, in the I don't give a fuck stage in their life. But yeah, aside from that, just why are all these people in here? Why are they doing that to their career?
You were questioning why are these people in here? I was questioning why is Eddie Redmayne not in here? Because this is like an Eddie Redmayne movie.
He would definitely belong in that movie. That's true. God, and Michael Shannon maybe.
I think he has too much self-respect, Michael Shannon.
You think? Yeah, maybe.
You might think Idris Elba has too much self-respect as well, but that's definitely not the case. So
I'm thinking Man of Steel, Michael Shannon. So that should work.
But what was your favorite? What was your most what the fuck moment for you?
The cockroaches.
The cockroaches, yes, of course, not the mice.
Everything in that scene. That whole song by what was her name? Jenny the. I only got the German name, but Jenny something.
Jenny Eddie Dots, which is definitely not a top 5 cat for me. That's
no, definitely not. But that whole scene was mindfuckery deluxe. I couldn't believe. It got worse and worse and worse and worse. And it was just pressed into my fucking movie theater seat. It was like, help! What is happening? It's a nightmare. I will dream of this. In my darkest hours.
I think for me the moment I laughed the most, like, is when Idris Elba showed up later in the movie. In the beginning half, he has this furry coat on and his hat, right? But then later on, he's fully nude.
Yes.
But because they gave him like fur that is like the same color as his actually like his body. Yeah. It looks like he's just like a furry naked Idris Elba walking around.
I think isn't there one line in his song where he's like, I might just be naked or something?
I don't know.
I think so.
And there's like some moments where it's like he takes some guy out, right? Like he takes Ian McKellen out, and he's like calling his own name. It's like he's like
McCavity.
McCavity.
It's so fucking dumb.
I started laughing so loud in the theater. Like, it was hilarious for me.
That whole fucking final song where they tell you how to talk to a fucking cat. And it was like, this is how you address us. Oh, cat. What? I've heard that the music basically has no plot because it's like and Andrew Lloyd Webber took like the poems of T.S. Eliot and tried to turn them into some kind of plot-driven musical, and it just doesn't fucking work because all we get are just a bunch of people who are supposed to be cats who tell us about themselves. But in terms of what's actually happening in the quote-unquote story, none of these cats matter. Like maybe 2 or 3 of, let's say 4. McCavity, that fucking old super old cat that basically allows you to go to heaven. And
that's the plot of the movie.
Yes,
that's the funniest thing. Like, the plot of the movie is that they're like a group of cats. We're in like a competition with each other, and the winning cat gets to go to heaven. Like,
gets to start a new life as a cat they always wanted to be. And everyone tries to be the cat.
Trust. It takes a lot of trust because they just go in a balloon up in the air and then it's over. You don't see the young cats appearing again. It's just gone.
Yeah. Well, they're
basically like a death cult. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. They trust this one very old cat who says, "Well, I've lived many lives before." It's like, how do we know that?
Judi Dench cats. Who, by the way, the version I watched, like, I'm not sure if you knew about this, but this movie got updated while it was still in theaters, right? Like, the movie wasn't finished yet, and I watched the version that wasn't finished.
Oh, nice! I wanted to see that.
So there are actually a lot of scenes where Judi Dench, where she's still like, you can see like her watch on her arm and stuff. Like, it's just like they haven't really fixed like their heads. Like, her heads were just straight up still human heads throughout most of the movie. So it looked even worse.
Well, that fits right in with the rest of the movie because all of this is like a surreal nightmare scenario where you constantly just fucking flabbergasted because nothing makes sense. It's all just one cat person after another singing a song about themselves, and then they might appear again or not, but they might not matter at all later on. Like the Skimble fucker, the fucking train cat asshole. He doesn't matter. Jenny doesn't matter.
That's Mr. Skimble Shakes, the railway cat, the cat of the railroads for you.
I'm sorry, yeah. And if I hear the word Jellicle one more fucking time in my life.
What does Jellicle mean?
I have no fucking idea. It's a nice kitty. Judi Dench says it at the end.
They don't even translate it. Like, it's just like in the translation, it's like everything is like translated to Dutch except for Jellicle, which is just like Jellicle. Like, there's no meaning to it.
Yes, exactly. It's the same for
Jellicle. I know Jellicle. Jellicle were a game developer who made a bunch of Super Famicom games. They made what's it called, Rival Turf.
Differently. No, it's Jellicle. It's weird. And yeah, they didn't translate it in the German version either, so it's just a made-up fucking piece of shit word, I guess.
And then the first song is entirely about that. Like, I enjoyed this movie. Like, I was laughing out loud. The songs were kind of catchy at times. Yeah. I was one big disappointment because there's a moment where they hinted that there was going to be a dog on screen. It's like, okay, show me this monstrosity, please. I'm really curious to see this monstrosity. Like, but they didn't. Like, it's like, this is a win-win situation. Like, either it's like a taller human being with like a dog looking like a dog, or it's like a giant dog. Like, any way they go, it would be like a monstrosity, but it would be hilarious.
They didn't show it?
No.
Yeah, that was a pussies.
Like, we already had mice. It's like, oh yes, the mice, cool. Those look horrifying. Like the mice look horrifying, and they're all like British kids. They look like they're living on the street or something. And then you had the cockroaches, which looked like it was like made on the iToy or something. It looked terrible, but it was hilarious.
And they get eaten.
They can eat it, yes.
They just randomly, the cat people pick out cockroaches and just fucking eat them.
Well, the cockroaches.
Fucking nightmare. The cockroaches have faces. They're people too. God, this is just. I had fun with parts of the movie when it got really fucking crazy, but I got really tired of the constant. I mean, I know it's a musical, but not having almost any spoken dialogue in between, and any semblance of connecting story tissue for most of its runtime was just so fucking exhausting. And every time, like, one musical number stops and like, and they're just gonna fucking address something, some of the things that just happened, maybe, and then the next one, and then the next one. And I'm like, oh my god, make it end.
I liked it the most when they took it completely serious. Like Ian McKellen, he's playing it like it's Shakespeare. Like, and he's like standing around on like his two back feet, drinking milk, right? Like like a cat drinking milk.
But not like a human, like a cat. He bows over a plate and licks the milk out of a fucking bowl.
And he's getting like he's playing like a solo number, and he does it like his King Lear. It's amazing.
Yeah, and then when the rescue scene is where he just pushes the one guy, spoilers for Cats people, who cares, down the fucking, I don't know, the gangway. He just turns around, says, where's the villain? Or something like that. And just super deep and serious. No, wait, his voice gets super croaky and he sounds super tired. And me and my colleague, we had to laugh so hard. It was so bad.
Yeah, Amy the villain played by Ray Winston, which was the second biggest laugh in the movie, because I had no idea that Ray Winston was going to be in it. And then all of a sudden, like out of the shadows, walks this really big fat cat with like the face of Ray Winston. I was like, oh my god, what the fuck am I watching? This is hilarious.
Rose something, I forgot what his name was.
It's Growl Tiger.
Yes. Great name. For him. Yes. Yeah. Fantastic. The one fucking cat that just didn't know, just says, hey, if someone wants something from me, I do the exact opposite. Just no relevance to the fucking plot at all. None.
Rob Tugger.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if you knew this. The actor complained that they CGI'd out his dick in this, because like on the suit, like his dick was too visible, so they said to CGI'd out. That guy, yes.
Just like that cheesy CGI'd out Henry Cavill's mustache in fucking Justice League. Though that dick removal was more convincing, I guess. Holy shit.
Obviously, you guys are trouncing on it as a terrible movie, but it really sounds like you had a lot of fun.
It was so bizarre. I never want to see it again, but maybe with the right people around to make fun of it. But
I think that like the problem is there's definitely like a stretch in there where it tries to be funny, and that doesn't work at all. Like
the slapstick is garbage.
Who's the guy who nobody likes, but for some reason he's always in movies? James Corden, right? And he's like in it for too much. James Gordon?
James Gordon, the police officer?
No.
Who,
from Batman?
Batman?
Oh, no. The guy who plays Buster Jones.
Oh, that guy.
He's like
the fat dude.
Yeah, and he's really not funny, and he tries to be funny. It doesn't work out.
Yes, he lands on his fucking balls, and everybody not laughs.
Like, if you cut out the parts where it actually tries to be funny, and it's like an hour and a half movie, then I think it would be like a movie that a lot of people just rewatch to laugh at. But and instead, it's just a little bit too long for that.
The pacing is a bit off. It's best when it completely indulges in its own weirdness. Like, just gets super fucking crazy and nonsensical. Then it's the most fun. Like, there were some musical numbers that I really like, where it's like, this is surreal garbage, and then there were some like, yeah, I get what you're doing, but this is not fun. This is not fun at all, and I don't care about this character. So yeah, it's a very mixed thing, but the most important thing really is like, how did this get made? I mean, people weren't too keen on Tom Hooper's last musical adaptation. Wasn't that Les Miserables? I think
Yeah.
so. And nobody said that was a really good movie. I think it got Oscar nominations, but people were kind of very about it. And then he gets budget for another thing, and that thing is Cats. And I mean, he must have had like, I don't know, artwork or something to present to the producers, to the people who gave money to this thing.
But
And
like,
why didn't they say like no?
on paper,
because
it
music.
makes sense, right?
Yeah,
Because
it makes sense because sorry, Brett, to steal your thunder, but like the Broadway musical was a huge hit, right? And recently we've had The Greatest Showman and Rocket Man and Bohemian Rhapsody and stuff like that, musical based movies, so it's kind of like the zeitgeist at the moment, isn't
it's
it?
literally one of the most successful musicals of all time, like multi-billion-dollar musical.
It's not a good musical though. Most people say that. Like, it's super successful, but it's bad.
Yeah, but like people enjoy the badness of it, I guess.
Yeah.
For some reason, like he really like got the clout to do it. So like I said, that dude who I think in general most people are not like that big fans of his movies, but he has like multiple Oscars and like literally all of his last few movies have had like Oscar nominations, like The Danish Girl, Les Miserables, The King's
People
Speech.
like King's Speech. Okay, King's Speech is well regarded, I think.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
Yeah,
it's an okay movie, but like literally all his movies got Oscars.
Except this one. This one definitely ain't getting
Oh
nominated.
no, that's got nothing.
This guy got a lot of raspberries, that's for sure. Holy shit! Like,
well, at least he's gonna win. At least he's gonna win something.
Yeah. Wow, what a nightmare! It's gonna win a lot of psychiatrists a lot of money.
Hey! It's nominated for 1 Golden Globe. That's what I'm saying.
What category?
Best original song, I think.
Category.
For
I
best
didn't even like
original
the.
song.
Is that the Taylor Swift song then? I guess, but I didn't like the big showpiece tentpole song that always gets mentioned when the musical is brought up. Memories.
You mean Memories?
Yes, I didn't like the performance that much of the actress that was singing it, and the scene was weirdly stilted. Not a fan. There were better songs in that movie.
I agree. It's no mystical Mistopheles or something.
Such a dumb fucking. Oh god.
Or Skimble Shakes the Railway Cat, who is like #1 cat for sure. No, but like she plays it so completely serious. Like this song is played like it's Les Miserables.
Yeah.
Like, it's like camera super close. While she's singing, she's literally like crying and snot coming out of her face. Like it's played like it's like an indie drama, but she still looks like a fucking cat. So it's hilarious.
The character that's barely established. You know that she was a famous actress or something before in Catland. How does that even work? And then she got forgotten, and now she hates her life and lives on the street and is ugly because she's old. That's literally what the movie says. And yeah, at the end she sings about that. And that's supposed to be super dramatic and heartfelt, but it's not. So
I think the singing was pretty good. So I said,
there's some good instrumental songs in there too. So.
Well, it obviously wasn't the cat's pajamas. It sounds like there wasn't much you could get your claws into, but at least it didn't leave you catatonic.
I'm gonna fucking punch you.
Okay. I can't believe you two suckers paid money to see that.
I didn't.
Yeah, it was movie day. It was like only €6.
He paid money. I got a movie pass. I just went.
It's fine.
Like it's funny because I went to like two movies in a row, right? And before the movie I watched before that is Sedada the Dust, City of God, which is like one of the best movies of all time. It's like in the IMDb top 10 and stuff like that. Like multiple Oscars. Great movie. Like 10 minutes later. 1 ticket for Cats, please.
I should have given you whiplash or something. But honestly, I had more fun with Cats than with the other movie that I spent money on, and that we're going to talk about in the deaths later. So make of that what you will. But yeah, let's get over with the shallows first, I guess.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Human Metal, what's your shallows pick?
My shallows pick is a TV series you and I watched. Brad only has seen the first episode so far, and that's The Witcher on Netflix. I didn't play the games. I read the novels, not the short stories. Witcher is a long-running book, story series, whatever. And the new series, TV series, the live action series is based on the on the books, not on the games. The games are set after the books. So I was like, okay, I know kind of what this will probably be about, even though I haven't read the short stories, and they're gonna do those first. But yeah, I was interested, even though I'm not a super big fan of the books. I don't kind of like how they are written, how the world is structured and everything, and I didn't like the characters in the books. In the games, they're apparently more sympathetic and stuff, but most of the characters in the books come across as giant assholes. So I was wondering how the series would try to make better characters for this, or maybe adapt this in a more interesting and engaging way. And in my opinion, did a pretty good job. First off, biggest surprise, Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia, the Witcher, who is a lot better than I expected him to be. Fits the role really well. I don't know. Chuchu, what did you think about Henry Cavill as the Witcher? I think he was probably maybe the high point of the series, and I did not expect that when they cast him.
He did a good job. Yes, he did. He did a good job. He was excellent in it.
Yes, very good presence. Brings across the kind of grumpiness of Geralt very well. Like, you know, bit of tortured on the inside and stuff like that. Has a big history behind him, which we, you know, slowly learn some things about. But yeah, I think Henry Cavill really surprisingly brought that character to life without making him feel too one note.
Yeah.
So
he was also he's such a famous actor too, you know, and obviously which is has a level of prestige for having such a recognizable actor in it. Yet Henry Cavill completely disappears into the character, so it stops being Henry Cavill. That is Geralt of Rivia. Like when I see him play that role, it's not Henry Cavill. It's Geralt. So I think he did an excellent job of just disappearing completely into that character. Wonderful performance.
Would you say he's a better Geralt than a Superman?
Yes, definitely.
Okay,
for sure.
Agreed.
I think he could be a good Superman, but the material in the movie
that's true.
There for him.
That's maybe a bit unfair. He could probably play a more jolly and fun Superman if they let him and stuff like that, and someone more spirited and not always like this downtrodden, depressed version of Superman.
But the thing is, when I see Henry Cavill as Superman, it's always kind of Henry Cavill. It's always the actor. It's like him
sometimes
playing Superman.
Sometimes Henry Cavill with a weird CGI upper lip. It's it happens. But yeah, I really liked him in this role. I think he was great. The rest of the casting is pretty cool, pretty good too. I'm not too fond of how they cast Yennefer, I guess. But that might be biased because I imagined her to look a bit different from the books, and in the game she looks kind of different as well. So I wasn't too fond of how she looks here, not because she's ugly or something. No, not at all. But that's not how I imagine her character to look. But the actress does a really good job at portraying her. And especially since Yennefer, just like Geralt, is not necessarily the most sympathetic person all the time. They're complicated people, I guess. But in the series, like I said, and that's what I was most worried about, that I couldn't get engaged. That was my problem with the books. I like the characters in the series much more than in the books. I think they're more sympathetic. I think they immediately you get filled in more on the background of them and how they are. What their trauma is, I guess, at least partially, and their troubles and how they stand towards each other and what their relationship is and stuff like that. So, I could just connect to the characters a bit, at least to the main characters, a bit better here in the series than I could in the books. And yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the series. I thought it got better and better the further it progressed. It's kind of a slow build, slow burn in the beginning. It sets up a lot of, world stuff, does a lot of world building. And it does that in a kind of interesting way. There are 3 timelines in this series, anchored to 3 different people. Every time you see one person, it's, let's say, one point, a point in the past. Then you see another person that's kind of in the middle timeline wise, and then you see another person, and that's in the future or in the now, if you will. And if you don't know that, and you don't know what characters you have to like focus on to make sense of it all, then that could be a bit troubling. And I think that's what Choo Choo had the most trouble with, like make sense of the world.
By the way,
and
watching
everything
the
around
first
us.
episode, I had no idea from what they show that is actually happening. Like it's
Yeah,
probably already
in the
happening
first
there.
episode, it's not really elaborated on. I think starting with the second episode, you get a lot of hints that this is what they're doing, but maybe you don't see it immediately.
It's not just. But the thing is, it's not just one continuous. Each person jumps through time. I think like the series timeline is relatively stable.
Yes.
It's just, it's like it's happening within that small amount of time. But Geralt's is all over the place.
No, it's, yeah. Sorry.
So, for example, the butchery of Blaviken, the thing he gets famous for, happened a long time in the past compared to where he is at the end of the series. Yes. And Yennefer's is even longer. Yennefer's is over like I don't know, like a century or something.
I found
like
that
decades and decades and decades.
Yeah, I found that to be super interesting. So they start all these 3 points in time start very far apart, and then they get closer and closer together with each passing episode. First, Yennefer and Geralt's story points or time points get closer together, and then they move closer to series point. So, it gets compressed more and more with each passing episode. And in each episode, you get a slight hint, seeing people you saw before in Yennefer's plotline, you see now in Geralt's plotline and stuff like that. And then you make sense, oh, okay, these are these people grown up. That's what happens later. That's what happens in series storyline. And figuring all that out and how they told that, especially since I wasn't, familiar with their origin stories and stuff like that. I found that to be super interesting. But maybe you need to have a knack for that. I don't know. It's a bit puzzly at times, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed figuring all that stuff out and how it connected to each other.
Well, I think for me, the series was very messy. The time stuff is one thing, but also the world building is another. Like, so I did play The Witcher 3, but to be honest, I was not concentrating very much on the lore.
Understandable, it's a lot of lore.
Yeah. But the thing is, it throws so much at you so quickly. It's like, this country and this country's fighting that country, and this other thing has some fucking trade dispute with this country or whatever. Like this, that, and the other. And then you got
the magicians,
you got all these different characters, like the Mages Guild or whatever, trying to set up that world, trying to set up the laws of the country here, trying to set up how these people feel about these people. And it goes by so quickly. And you're trying to take it in. You're thinking, oh, okay, that, and then it just suddenly moves on to a different scene, and it's too fast paced to actually let anything sit. And there are a lot of scenes in there that, like, I still, after watching the series, like, I still don't really know what was going on or what they were connected to. So, for example, I spent a lot of the series, or the entirety of the series, thinking that the people from Nilfgaard were evil elves, for example, and and then was corrected by Human Metal. He was saying, no, they're not elves. Like, but that's what I mean. Like, somehow I got so confused with all the lore and stuff that I thought the elves were evil, and that they had something bad had happened to the elves, and now they were marching on the humankind like this. So it's totally confusing. And not only that, the antagonists, the real antagonists of the show, don't appear until literally the last 2 episodes or something, that they're properly introduced. So you hear about Nilfgaard, but you're not actually introduced to any of the main bad guys and stuff until the end. And there are many confusing things. Like, I thought, like, maybe I shouldn't go into spoilers, but there's like a certain. Okay, there are many things I got confused about. I thought, like, Ciri and the Queen, or the Queen Mage, the head of the Mages Guild. I've forgotten what her name is, but they look so similar in face and hairstyle. I thought that Ciri grew into her. Like, it was very unclear to me. Like, all these different factions, and the whole thing with Stregobor, I got really confused because a bit later there's some kind of like assassin dude who looks exactly the same as him, and I was like, I don't know if that was him or if that was a dude that just looked like him. Like, but why would they choose, in such a confusing show, why would they choose actors that look exactly the same as a different actor?
I didn't recognize him as Stregobor, so maybe you saw something in him I didn't. Or I don't know. It was already made clear before that by a comment from Yennefer that it wasn't him. So, but yeah, it's there's a lot. It's true. There's a lot of stuff thrown at you constantly, and considering how slow paced certain Netflix shows are, especially the Marvel ones and some other stuff I've seen, I was actually welcoming the fast paced or fastening up pace. Quick, the pacing of Witcher got quicker and quicker towards the end, and actually enjoyed that because I was afraid there would be too much downtime and too much padding and filler in there, with a lot of other Netflix shows, and that didn't happen. So I kind of welcomed that, but I can understand if all the constant barrage of world building and new characters and different timelines and everything could be a bit much, especially if you are not familiar with any of the characters from the books or from the games. And I wonder what the common consensus is that a lot of people had that trouble. A lot of people were saying that they didn't understand necessarily how everything in the show worked. And the other half said, yeah, we did fine. I don't know if all the other half are all book readers or all the game players. But in general, most people like the series, I have come to understand. And you were one of those too, so...
I've noted that it's messy, and it is messy, and it does take quite a lot of patience. But as it goes on, as the pieces of the puzzle start to fall into place, and you're actually aware of who is who gradually and what actually is going on, which does take quite a while, it becomes kind of fun. And then you actually want to see different characters meet, or you want some kind of conclusion to what's going on. And Henry Cavill's central performance kind of pulls everything along quite nicely. And it's at points it's very confusing, in some timelines, especially when characters die and then they're back alive again in someone else's timeline. It can be very confusing. But by the end, though, by the final episode, I was invested, and I was really excited to see the finale of The Witcher. And I think the finale also, stuck the landing as well. I think it ends.
Kick-ass, in my opinion. In general, good action scenes in this show. Like the sword fight choreography is one of the best I've seen in recent years, in my opinion. There's some really cool stuff in there, and it looks not as expensive as Game of Thrones or something. It's definitely a Netflix show. But it still looks like they put some budget into this show. And it's a cool fantasy world. There's a lot of cool characters in there, and some cool monsters. And I really like the show. I think it's a promising start. I doubt it will get enough seasons to adapt the whole material, because that's not what Netflix does.
Oh no, it's going to probably 2 seasons. So
2 or 3 seasons is probably going to be over. I think the only big budgeted series so far I've seen from Netflix that got more than 3 seasons is Stranger Things, and that's going to end after the 4th one. They have already
House of Cards.
Did House of Cards start as a Netflix show?
Yeah, House of Cards is a Netflix show.
Okay, then maybe that. Yeah. But aside from that, I can't think of that many, and they usually end because of their weird contract model. They end after the 3rd season or something. So,
I think the other thing to say about The Witcher, it worked really hard to set up its world, and despite being confusing and messy at times, I think more or less it succeeded. So now everybody's sort of weaved into a concurrent time frame, and the villains have probably been set up. They can really knock a second season out the park if they play it right. Like the building blocks have been set in place. Now they can build on that and make something really great with the second season.
Yeah, I think. And it would make sense to now split up the timelines again, because that now maybe you get flashbacks to some time in the past, just in general for some. When characters met before, you get maybe a side story with Yennefer and Geralt again. I mean, they have a long history together, so maybe they, give you some more insight into that. But in general, you probably get consistent timeline, because from this moment on, you have in the books, you also have a very consistent story that just continues normally. It's a normal contingent, linear time. Time plot. So yeah, and I wonder how they will make it look. I remember some of the key moments from the books, and I know what's coming. So some of these will probably look pretty awesome in this show. So yeah, I'm interested to see, and I'm glad that I'm more engaged with the characters in this. So I'll probably enjoy it. I hope they get to adapt as much of the story as they can, and don't have to rush it to an unsatisfying ending. Hint at our fucking topic in the depths again. So yeah, we'll see.
Talking about unsatisfying endings, I guess it's going to bring me on to my shallow picks, because I think this is going to be the ending. So
on
finally,
purpose or not? I'm not sure if it's on purpose.
Really?
It wasn't on purpose. It wasn't on purpose before.
Yeah. Well, so finally, the Dream game was released late last year. Shenmue 3. Yeah. So I actually, strangely, I didn't actually support the Kickstarter of Shenmue 3. Because like by the time I really thought about it, like it had already been funded. So I thought, oh well, I just get it when it comes out, on release. But yeah, finally, I got to play Shenmue 3. Hooray! I've been waiting like 18 years or something for that game. Huge fan of the Shenmue 1 and 2, as I've talked about many times on this podcast. Those games really, literally changed my life. I don't think I would be living in Japan if it wasn't for the first Shenmue and the effect it had on me. In the lead up to Shenmue 3, I replayed Shenmue and Shenmue 2. I think I played like in 2018. I played the original Shenmue, which hasn't aged well, and I had to struggle through that. But still, I managed to finish it. So I can say that about the original game. And then Shenmue 2, I played last year in 2019, and I had a ton of fun with that game. That game's gangbusters still, even now. Like especially the Kowloon section is just brilliant. Just loved it. So finally, Shenmue 3, my expectations, of course, were quite low going in, because I had seen some reviews and stuff, and people were saying, oh, it's quite antiquated or whatever. But I was like, okay, I don't mind that. I like the original games. I don't mind a bit of antiquated gameplay. If it plays like the original Shenmue games, I'm all for that, maybe. Yeah, but it's shit. It's bad. It's terrible. Fuck me.
And you were going back and forth in between. Like there were moments in where you were like, I think posting on OGS and something where you were like, I think I'm going to take things back on what I said before.
Because people, that's the thing. My opinion was immediately, oh, this is not good. And then people were like, I got complained at by various people saying, no, it's just like an antiquated thing. It's all right. So I thought, yeah, maybe I'm being too harsh in it, and I might have to take things back. Like I was thinking that, and then I played more of it. It's like, no, this is bad. This is really bad. So there are many terrible things about Shenmue 2, Shenmue 3. Why it? So first, it doesn't come anywhere close to the quality of the original games. It just doesn't. And people can say, oh yeah, it's like the perfect transition, and no, it's not. It just isn't as good as those original games. It's just not. Absolutely not. Especially not the second one. Fucking hell. Not even as good as the first one. It is the weakest Shenmue game. By like a country mile. It's weaker than the first one. So there are a couple reasons. Firstly, the location is boring as fuck. It's just, the original, for all its faults, you had Yokosuka City to explore with its game arcades and its shops and stuff. It was kind of lively and populated. And the second one, you had like the shopping area of Hong Kong with all of it's like neon glows and signs and stuff and dank alleys, and then you had like the nightmare dystopian Kowloon, which was which is based on the walled city of Kowloon, but that used to exist in the past. And that's awesome. This one is in the countryside, so it's just like you got fields and flowers and fences and these buildings, these little village huts that are basically the same village hut. Every village hut is the same fucking village hut, just copied and pasted. It's boring to walk around. There's no joy to explore, a field with a cow in it. It's just not fun. And then other things, like it's like the whole game just seems to be geared to remove whatever fun that there is to be had there. It's like exploring places is fun, right? Okay, well, now we're going to put this stamina thing where you have to constantly keep eating fruit. And if you run, your stamina is going to go down super quick. So don't run anywhere, and that takes the joy out of exploring. And then you have like the gambling, for example. So you need to make money to buy fruit because there's no rent in this one. In the other games, you have to earn money to pay rent. But in this one, you have to earn money to fucking buy fruit. Like, it's really weird to have to like do a job just to buy cabbages. It's fucked up and weird. But like in the original one, you could go gambling and you could like make a whole bunch of money through exploiting the gambling system, just because their gambling system was so stupid, so basic. It's like simple math. If you had an understanding of simple math, you could make a fortune and never have to worry about it. And that was fun, gambling and getting one over on the NPCs. Here in this game, they've basically looked at that and said, no, that's too much fun. Look, you can't let the player do that. So, and they've kind of like the gambling here, you win tokens. And what you do is you trade those tokens in to get useless tap from the store, which you then sell to the pawn shop. It's like really convoluted. And then when you sell that stuff to the pawn shop, it's like pittance. You get like enough for like 3 cabbages or whatever, or a couple of bananas and a fucking kumquat. But so it's like every step of the way, it seems like they're removing little bits of fun. It's like in the originals, you had like fun arcade games like Space Harrier. In this, you've got like these penny arcades, because in that type of, it makes sense, I guess, but in, rural China, I guess they didn't have like arcade games in there. But yeah, it's just bad. I mean, the fighting, in some ways, the fighting is better because it's much more difficult and it's almost Dark Soulsy, is in that you have to wait for an opening. You have to block, wait for an opening, and then hit an actual combo to damage the enemy. So in some ways, I guess it's more fraught and like technically proficient, but it was so much fun, like in Shenmue 2, just walking around, spamming attack buttons and just, hulking up and beating everybody like Superman. In this game, if you make one wrong move, the enemy's got you and you're flat on your back. And I don't know, some people might like that. I think it just removes the fun out of it, especially because you don't have to fight enough to get good at it. So it's a real chore to actually have to fight in the game, because you don't have enough fighting to improve, and then suddenly you're thrown against a really tough enemy. And as much as I love Shenmue, I just lost all taste for battle playing Shenmue 3, and I do not want to continue playing it. And that's the most damning thing I can say. It's a game I was looking forward to for 18 years. I replayed the first 2. The first one is qualified experience. Loved the second one. Played the third one. Just can't do it. I can't continue with it. So I deleted it off my hard drive. It's just a terrible game. Terrible. Such a disappointment to wait 18 years for just shit, basically. So there you go. That's what I think about Shenmue 3. I don't think there's going to be a Shenmue 4, because I think many of the Shenmue fans who love the first 2 probably likely feel the same way that I'm feeling about it. So thank you, Suzuki, for ruining my childhood. Bastard.
Well, you still got the Yakuza series.
No, he doesn't. That's nothing to do with him.
No, I said you still got the Yakuza series.
About to say, if he's been pulled in for director of the Yakuza series, I'm going to kill myself. That's the thing. Totally outclassed by Yakuza. Like, Yakuza just leaves it in the dust. You play Shenmue 3, then you go play fucking Yakuza 0. Oh man, Yakuza 0 is an unbelievably superior game to Shenmue 3. So yeah,
that's a bummer. I was hoping that it would be the dream game you wanted.
Yeah, me too. Or at least, halfway fun. I would have accepted many faults for it and enjoyed it, but it's just so fucking tedious to play. And that's the other thing. The other major issue with it is that Shenmue 1 and 2 were relatively well paced and had things to break up the action. In Shenmue 3, you're just literally just walking around all the time, asking people questions. That is 100% of the game. Just, where do I find this guy? Oh, you find him over there. Okay. Oh, yeah. Where do I find this guy? Oh, he's over there. Okay. Like that. And then sometimes, like, there are points in the game where you go into an area and this guy's in this house. You know he's in there, the guy you need to talk to. So you go and you knock on his door, and then your character's like, oh, wait, I should ask the villagers for more information. Like, I know he's fucking in there! And then you have to go around and like ask all the villagers in that particular area until you find the right one who says, yeah, he's in that house. And then you go back to the house that you knew he was in the fucking first place and go knock on the door finally. Oh! Terrible game design. Fuck that game. Oh, man.
That sounds like something I don't want to play at all. Like, never, ever. I'm not going to play a touch a Shenmue game ever. And there's probably, by the way, I Googled, and it's not the final one. It doesn't finish the story. There's going to be more. Or at least they say there's going to be more.
That's it. He says there's going to be more. He plans there to be more. But on the back of this shit show, there might not be a Shenmue 4. And you know what? Shenmue 3 was my dream game. It's come. Shenmue 4 definitely is not my dream game. I don't. It lost me. Like, it totally lost me. So, with that disappointing conclusion, we're going to move out of the shallows and into the depths. Welcome down to the depths. The dead speak.
Indeed they do.
Today we are going to be talking about the end of two great franchises. I'm going to be talking about the end, in quotes, of the Star Wars franchise and also the end of Game of Thrones. So we're going to start with Star Wars. Yeah. Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. Somehow Emperor Palpatine has returned. Somehow. How? I don't know. Somehow.
Didn't you see it? He returned in the opening credits. Did you see that?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Yeah, that's the most sneaky return of all time in the opening fucking crawl. I mean, come on. Is there a more underwhelming way they could have, like, had him return? Like, it's just so oh god, they may as well just had like Kylo Ren or someone standing there, you know, and then just randomly the door opens and it's Palpatine.
By the way,
I'm still alive.
It gives you immediately from the get-go. It gives you the feeling like either you missed something or they were coming up with shit on the fly, and that feeling persists throughout the entirety of that movie.
Well,
so,
yeah, the thing is, like, all right.
By the way. The dead
Spoiler
speak.
alert.
If they speak, that means they're not dead. It doesn't make sense. Just saying. That's where it starts. Also, like, everybody believes that message. Like, why would people believe the message that, like, he sends a message in space? Like, that doesn't mean he's alive. It's a message. Like, it can be recorded.
hey, if it happens in Fortnite, it's gotta be real. So,
oh sure.
Maybe it's like watermarked from his PC or something. Like, like, I don't know. But like this like, so spoilers alert for both Star Wars and Game of Thrones here. Let's just launch straight into the ridiculousness of the whole Palpatine thing and why it exists. It really felt like like J.J. Abrams wanted Snoke to be his big bad villain, right? And then Rian
Johnson killed him off.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, no, let's move away from the tropes of the original Star Wars and do something original, and killed him off. And it's like J.J. Abrams is like, in the third film was like, shit, I don't have a big bad guy now. So like, oh, what should we do? Palpatine's back. Like.
And that's not the only thing. That's not the only fuck you to Rian Johnson. Like, the entire movie was made up of fuck yous to The Last Jedi, where it's like, hey, you see this shit happening? Or you remember this shit from Last Jedi? Yeah, that didn't happen. Oh no, that's different. And Dr. Brown bring that up. No, that wasn't true. It's like almost every second scene is something like that. Here's a character that was established in Last Jedi, and we're gonna have her on screen for like 10 seconds, and otherwise she doesn't matter. So, oh man, there's so much stuff. And even the movie even walks something back it does in the runtime, in its own runtime, just immediately a few scenes after. Like, you see Chewbacca getting blown up, hey, he's alright. You see, as you see something explained over here, or that, or some maybe important shit, and then no, that's not important at all. And my God, this movie, it's ridiculous.
But I have a rebuttal. Babu Frick though.
Yeah,
Babu Frick though. He's cute as hell. That's all I'm gonna say. I like Babu Frick.
I was at that point. I was already so tuned out of the movie. I didn't get engaged with him.
Well, in this household, we stand Babu Frick. That's all I'm saying.
Is that well? Talking about that, I guess we're going to continue to rail on the film because I think it was a huge muddled mess. But were there any good things about the film?
Babu Frick.
Babu Frick, yeah. Well, I liked, generally speaking, I liked the Ben Solo stuff. I thought that was all right. It was relatively well done. I mean, the end, no, not so much. But the whole scene with him making peace with his father, that scene was actually really good. I enjoyed that. That was pretty cool. That whole sort of water planet scene, like that was kind of like the peak of all the good stuff in the film, and everything around that was kind of naff.
I felt like all of the stuff in the movie, Ben Solo stuff too, felt incredibly rushed, and the turn in the end, and especially the stupid kiss between him and Rey, nothing about that felt earned, nothing at all. Just felt like, okay, this had to happen because the writers decided it must happen now. It didn't feel like an organically evolved thing from the story because there was not really any story to speak of. It was just a bunch of random bullshit that happened. I didn't feel like his character went through a journey that merited that outcome. So
I would disagree on that. I thought the kiss was coming a long time coming. Was my opinion when it happened. It's like, that's been coming a while. Like I totally understood that. Like I connected with that. But the way he dies, like really like melodramatic. Like, I love.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just
No. I get that. There's definitely some romantic tension built with him, or some kind of sexual tension. Wouldn't even call it romantic, but there's something less Jedi, where it's like, yeah, there's a connection between those two people, and they feel an attraction towards each other for one reason or another. But you would expect him to elaborate more on that in Rise of Skywalker. And in my opinion, that didn't really happen. They were too busy doing other shit. And then at the end, they're like, hey, we set this up, right? So let's pay this off. But you didn't do anything more than what was set up in Last Jedi, really. And the few scenes they have in this are just more of the same. But it doesn't get, evolve further than that. And then by the end, it's like, hey, actually, I guess she loves him. And they're like, what? Okay, sure, right? Like I said, most of this feels incredibly rushed, and let me say first, I didn't hate the movie, because that would mean that I actually felt something while watching this movie. I didn't feel anything. I was completely, like, after a couple of minutes, I was waiting for things to get me emotionally engaged in that movie, and they didn't come. I was waiting for something interesting to happen that wasn't telegraphed like miles away, and that would surprise me, or I don't know, make me just feel something. Nothing. I was so surprised, just sitting there saying, okay, I guess this happens. Mm-hmm. Okay, I guess this happens. I wasn't angry. I was just surprised. I get in a bad sense, I guess, and maybe disappointed that there wasn't more to it. But I wasn't angry. I was just like, okay, I guess that's it. Why? How?
You're making a good point. But do you remember when Babu Frick said, hey, remember that? That was good. I like that.
Like I said, already tuned out at that point. I don't care.
You said it twice. It was great.
The Han Solo scene made me cry. It did. It got me.
Okay.
I would have felt, I'm sure I would have felt like sad when Kylo Ren or Ben Solo died, but like it just happened so crappily, like Romeo and Juliet ripper. Why the fuck did he die anyway? What killed him?
He gave his life force to Rey, something that was already also established in this movie for the first time, that they can actually transmit their life force.
She didn't fucking die when she gave him his life force. Why the
exactly.
fuck did he die?
I don't fucking know. When she was on the brink of time, I guess.
Life force. It's like a loading bar.
Yeah, it's
like a battery, like on your phone. Like,
yeah,
she was at 0%, and he was like at 30, so he gave this all 30% to her, and
Yeah.
that's like it. He's like a power bank, human force power bank move.
But also the way he died, he didn't even give like any sign that he was going to die before he died. It's just it's just like, oh yeah, he's totally fine. Oh, he's dead. It's like it's like it was like one of the worst like stupid deaths ever. It's just like, really?
Yeah.
Also, like, how is he like done enough to join the Force Ghosts? Because he spent the majority of his life like killing people.
Well, he
like the
didn't join
majority of his
he
life.
didn't join the Force Ghost.
Yes, he did.
No.
He did disappeared. He disappeared. Out of his
Yeah,
clothes.
but he doesn't appear as a Force Ghost
Oh,
somewhere
okay. No,
later on.
he did the whole disappearing stuff where,
Yeah.
like, Qui-Gon, I mean, he was a bit of a dick, but, like, Qui-Gon didn't disappear. Why the fuck does Kylo Ren get to disappear? Qui-Gon didn't go around massacring people.
Because kids watched this movie, and I guess we couldn't have too many gruesome scenes. I don't fucking know.
I don't remember. I don't even
real-
remember that it disappeared. I forgot most about this movie already.
Yeah, I mean, like there are so many things that don't make sense. I mean, firstly, how the fuck has the Emperor managed to stay on the ground for so long on such a barren planet? Also, who paid for all those Star Destroyers?
Yeah. I don't
What?
know.
How
Who's
is that
manning those
logistically
Star
possible?
Destroyers?
Yeah, and who
Secret
are all those
Empire
Sith
money.
supporters? Like, who are all those Sith supporters? That are they even humans? I don't know. Like, what's going on?
I was really hoping for that they were all clones of Palpatine. Like he's cloning himself, right? So like he has like thousands of Palpatine clones
Yeah.
like everywhere. Or maybe they're all his kids. Like because this
Oh.
movie teaches you one thing: Kylo Ren died a virgin, but Palpatine fucks. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, who did Palpatine fuck? You know, like I hope at least he. I mean, Rey is relatively young, so it means he must have got jiggy, like either when he was already underground.
No, but
Or-
it's his grandfather, right? So that's.
Oh, okay, yeah, maybe. But still, I mean, that he was like deformed in Anakin's time, so he must have like done his fucking as like the twisted Emperor. I'm going to come. Like
It's
Force,
definitely
like,
an image I don't want in my head.
By the way, all I'm saying, we have like a couple of facts in Star Wars canon, right? The only female Yoda we've seen was on Coruscant or whatever. Who was also on Coruscant? Palpatine. And we also they made it canon that Palpatine fucks. So and there's the baby Yoda in Mandalorian. So who has like
Okay.
really strong force powers? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm just laying the facts out there. I'm not doing else.
I think I was most, well, let's say disappointed, but like I said, I didn't really feel that much. But I have my gripes with Last Jedi. I didn't like all of that movie, but I think they set up some interesting things in that movie. Like, like you said, getting away from the tropes of Star Wars, like getting away from the, hey, destined Skywalker child, whatever, is bloodline. Everyone is special or nobody is special, right? Like, that kind of thing. Everyone can maybe use the Force. Everyone can be Force sensitive. All that stuff. Kylo Ren saying, hey, fucking the Jedi, the Empire, let's tear all that shit down. Like, let's start a new order, of course, right? That's in that sense, First Order makes sense because, that's what it's supposed to be. It's the First Order of a New Dawn or something, right? So, that was interesting stuff, and you could have done something with that. And then they go through get into the third movie, and instead of doing something with those interesting setups and evolving them and turning them into something interesting, they just walk it either all back and try to start something new, and then they bring some really old shit back, like with Palpatine. And it's like the third movie is a fucking redo of the second one and the third movie at the same time. Like 2 movies jammed into one. That's why it feels so incredibly rushed, because it's so busy walking shit back that didn't need to be walked back, and then trying to establish its own stuff again. And that just doesn't work. It's just too much stuff, and too much stuff that doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense with what the characters did before this. And now we're gonna have some new characters. Then it's also too afraid to stick with the stuff, interesting stuff it's like to do, like killing Chewbacca. Yeah, that would piss fans off, but it would be something, I don't know, something shocking, something daring. They don't do that. Having CP3O lose his memories, sacrifice his memories to make his friends help. They do that 10 minutes later he has his memories back because R2D2 stowed them in his memory bank. So that doesn't matter. Like Finn meets Poe meets this one acquaintance. What was I don't know who she's played by on that one planet. I don't know if she's a bounty hunter or something. The lady with the helmet. She never takes her helmet off. But and then you later hear, oh man, the Palpatine's ships or whoever bombed the fucking planet she was on, and then no, she's fine. Does anything in this movie matter? Does anyone stay dead? Does anything matter at all? No, it doesn't. Like there are no consequences in this movie.
You know what matters? The Sith knife matters, right? The Sith knife. There was a Sith knife.
Oh yeah.
Because the Sith knife takes you to a destroyed planet destroyer, whatever, and there you can find the Sith locator.
Yeah.
And then you get like a skull Sith Uber to the Sith planet or something. I don't remember. You need to get the thing to find the thing to get the thing to find the thing, right?
Yes.
That's the thing.
You need a MacGuffin to find the MacGuffin that leads you to the MacGuffin base. Mm-hmm.
Also, that
with the MacGuffin character.
Crap. Having a Sith locator. I mean, what?
Yeah, it's dumb.
Just daft. It's super dumb. It's like, of all the infinite options in the world, that's the best they could fucking come up with.
Yeah.
Find a Sith locator. It's like a video game quest. Like it's not a good one. It's like a side quest. Like it's I don't know. It's just it's so terrible. Some of it, and also the pacing, like you say, it was just so lightning quick. Nothing. You couldn't really hang on to anything because it was moving so quickly, and it's like one of those films. Like if you needed to go to the toilet. You go to the toilet, you come back and like, what the fuck happened? I missed like a whole movie's worth of stuff in the time it took to take a piss.
It's crazy. Yeah, it feels so fucking slapped together. Like they were so afraid after the fan backlash from Last Jedi that they just tried to walk all the shit back and get stuff in there that they thought the long time diehard fans, whoever those are, would like and would be happy with. And I saw a great quote yesterday, or heard it on a podcast that fits that movie perfectly. It says, "This is the first movie written by Reddit," and that's kind of true. This movie was written by the fucking fanbase on the internet, and it feels incredibly fanfiction-y. And now there's Palpatine back, and we have this shit, and it's Force Ghost, and there, he has this weird dark phantom underlings, and they're all Sith, and he's like living on this dark planet, and he's a million Star Destroyers. And like some fucking, I don't know, 8-year-old kid came up with, or some angry fanboy, drunk fanboy on a fucking message board, and then they made that into a movie. It's ridiculous.
I think, like, do you know, at the end of the Last Jedi, you had that the kid who with the broom.
Yeah.
Like, and he's got the Force. What you don't see is like J.J. Abrams personally went and like strangled him with a piece of barbed wire. Like,
lawsuit pending.
I remember like when Kylo said, "Your parents were nobodies," and he's like, "No, I didn't finish. I didn't finish talking it. Your parents were nobodies, but your granddad, he was a somebody. But your parents, nobodies."
No. What he actually says, and this is the dumbest thing, or there are so many dumb things in this movie. Your parents were nobodies because they had to be to protect you. And like, fuck you. This is so stupid. You fucking lame ass walking back, fucking scared pieces of shit. Oh god, a bunch of hacks. My god, this is so this is so ridiculous and funny. But yeah,
that's what I actually thought, like during the ending, right? Because there's like the scene where where it's like, "Who are you, girl?" It's like, "Rey." No, your last name, Rey Skywalker. Like, damn, that's like way disrespectful to your parents who like sacrificed their lives so you could live.
Yeah, exactly. That was exactly when she said that. That was exactly my reaction. It was like, who are you? Like, I'm Rey Skywalker. And my first reaction was like, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
That's an outright fucking lie.
And I'm sorry for the person that happened to. But I got out of the movie theater, and I don't know if the guy I walked by had the same thought as you guys had, or was just a Star Wars fan and angry that just Rey was naming herself a Skywalker in general. But he was apparently still very dialed into the movie and just with a fucking passion to his girlfriend, spouse, whatever. And she may be many things, but she's not a Skywalker. With such anger in his voice. And I burst out laughing right walking past that guy because that sounded so funny to me. It's like, holy shit. Somebody was emotionally engaged with that movie. I could never muster up that much emotion after watching Rise of Skywalker. I'm more emotional now than I was when I watched that movie.
And I also remembered, like, the last time you had, like, a scene in your movie where it's like, what's your name? Everybody made fun of it, like in Solo, where it's like, what's your name, boy? And it's like, Han, no, your people's name. Oh, no, I'm alone. Oh, Solo it is that. Like that scene in Solo, which is terrible. It's like, oh, let's repeat that. That's what they liked. We're gonna redo that.
Yeah, so dumb. And what was the most harrowing? Oh, sorry, did you want to say something?
I did, but I forgot what it was. So carry on.
What was probably the most problematic thing for me was I watched the finale of The Mandalorian first season before going to see this movie. And the entirety of that fucking TV series, the first season, is better than anything you see in that movie. Like a million miles. Like Mandalorian compared to this is a fucking masterpiece. It's art house cinema.
Even Baby Yoda. Even Baby Yoda is slightly better than Babu Frick.
Baby Yoda has a better character arc than anyone in Rise of Skywalker. It's fucking ridiculous. No, really. I mean, Mandalorian is like, it's I was joking. It's not high art or anything, but it's a very well-written, small, simple, well put together, logical, very well constructed story that works on every end. And I can't say that about Rise of Skywalker or the Skywalker, the three new Star Wars movies in general.
Also, we definitely got confirmation of one thing, one really important thing, right, in this film. That in Force Awakens, after Han Solo dies, and they return to the base, there's that moment where Rey comes out and she hugs Leia, right? But Chewbacca just walks by Leia, and they don't have any, Han Solo's just died, and Chewbacca and Leia just totally blank each other and just walk past each other. There's not a single look. They don't even acknowledge each other. And in this movie, Chewbacca finally gets his medal from Star Wars after Leia dies. So she had that medal in a fucking box and waited till after she died to give it to him. And as the last, like, fuck you to Chewbacca.
The most funny thing is J.J. Abrams admitted that they just forgot about that. Like, they just, they didn't think about that scene. They just wanted Rey and Leia to hug, and they forgot that Choo-Choo might be maybe more emotionally, fucked up here. And they so fucking hammer that fan backlash to that scene home in this movie where Chewie hears that Leia dies and he just sinks on his knees and just cries out in pain. And it's like, holy shit, what's happening? And
I think it's elation.
Yeah, maybe. And then he gets
he goes weak and easy.
Then he gets the medal. That's the other thing where it's like, but then in this movie, you remember that scene where Finn, I don't know, they get pulled down in that quicksand or something, and Finn is like, Rey, I need to tell you something. And then that never gets brought up later in the movie. And J.J. Abrams, again, admitted that he just forgot about putting that in that movie. Fucking payoff for that. He's like, Jesus, write yourself some notes, man.
That is definitely pretty bad. Like, I do have sympathy for, especially like with Leia, where she's like, obviously the actress died, and and they had to like really make use of that, of the few scenes they had, and it feels very like, it definitely feels like, oh shit, we have to work around this.
Yeah, definitely. That made things harder, I assume, a lot.
So yeah, and I think that's where the hand stuff comes from as well, because that's probably like a scene that was supposed to be between Kylo and Leia, and then Leia that they couldn't film that, so it was with Han. But so that's like really sucks.
But that's the thing. I don't know if I wanted actually. I maybe would have preferred if Kylo Ren didn't have a redemption arc in this. Like, he was in more. I hated him in Force Awakens because, like, oh, this fucking milk ass piece of shit. Fucking stabbing his father, and fuck that guy, right? I didn't understand his character. And then Last Jedi did something with him that got me actually interested in his development. And I feel like the course they set for him there and how that works, they, could have like tried to make you think that he would go, that they would go for redemption arc in this, and then be like, no, actually, no, that's not what he is. He has a conviction, he has a mission, he wants to tear the old ideals down, everything, and he will see that through because he's kind of a fanatic. And that would have been interesting, to see his ideals clash with Rey's. And I didn't really want him to be, redeemed and come back into the fold. And he still paid for his sins. He died, kind of. But it still feels like we had this, oh, no, he regrets what he's done and shit like that. And he won't, stick with his ideals till the end. He will, because he maybe loves Rey, whatever. And, so I felt like this was the less interesting thing they could have done with him compared to what he was set up with in Last Jedi.
Also, another thing that really disappointed me about this film is the death of General Hux. General Hux was such an interesting character, and I thought he was going to do something interesting. He had
and it
that
was
Game
kind of
of Thrones
interesting.
type thing.
And it was kind of interesting that he was like set up as the spy and was, oh, that's interesting. Okay, let's see what they do with this. 2 minutes later, he gets shot dead. It was like, what? What are you doing, movie? What the fuck?
You could have done something awesome with that character.
Yes.
He was like a slow-burning, sneaky snake, what I mean?
Yes.
Like out for himself. He could have done something amazing. And no, they just killed him. It was like, what? Come on.
And I mean, I feel like they embraced this ridiculously and this cheesiness in Last Jedi, where it's like,
they killed him off, and they didn't even explain who his parents were, which is very important in this movie. Like, his parents.
His parents are obviously Admiral Akbar and someone else.
Maybe
that boffin bitch.
Like, people say Poe is daddy, but I'm not sure who his daddy actually was. So, like, I'm not. How can I follow this movie then?
Yeah. So, I don't know. It feels like in Force Awakens they tried to play him straight, and that never worked for me because he was a ridiculous character. And then in Last Jedi they made fun of him. I didn't like all of what they did with him there, but he was a fun character. And you're right. And then you think like, okay, maybe they're going to make him the comedic relief in this, and then he turns, around just because he's like, okay, I'm done with this shit for one reason or another. I don't know, because he just hates Kylo Ren. That also makes kind of sense. So it's like, okay, let's see what he does. And he be like begrudgingly recruited for the rebels and saved, even though he doesn't like them either. That would have been fun. You could have had some interesting dynamic there. And I mean, they have kind of a history with him now through the first two movies, like Rey and especially
like you
Finn.
They played him straight in the first few movies. But they didn't play Poe straight in the last few movies because he had like gay energy there. And it's like, oh no, Disney movie. They were like, let's make sure we know that Finn and Poe are straight. They have to find them girlfriends in this movie, otherwise people might take the wrong idea and think they're gay for each other. Let's give them some girlfriends.
Finn had a fucking girlfriend. That was what half of Last Jedi was about. Was his fucking romance story with Rose.
Yeah,
I was not
that was
super
one-sided though. I remember talking about this with my girlfriend. Though that was one-sided. Like, Rose was into Finn, but Finn wasn't into Rose. He showed no interest. He was all about Rey.
Yeah, no, he's all about that Poe. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the thing. He should have been all about Poe. That would have been great. I would have loved
that. Would
that.
have been interesting. Would never happen in a Disney movie, but would have been interesting, definitely. And would have been something fresh. But,
sure. Also, that's one thing I found hilarious as well. Billy D. Williams, who plays, what's his name again?
Lando.
He's so old.
Yeah, but there's this scene at the end where it feels very much like he's flirting with that girl. Right?
Oh yeah, that was so awkward. Let's see, shall we find out? And the fucking look he gives her, like, what?
But then it's like in interviews he said, oh no, he is his like daughter or granddaughter or some shit.
Yeah, how should we know?
Oh, we don't know. But like,
well, maybe they're setting up for like that in a few movies time. We're gonna have like some Lando's son or something. Like,
Yeah, but like it feels like so obvious because I think it's partly because Billy D. Williams, like he can't say anything and doesn't not make it sound like he's flirting, right? And the fact that they never set up like that backstory for the other character, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
so it seems like let's bang. That's all that he's trying to say.
Speaking of old characters coming back and there being so much cheap fan service in this movie that doesn't make sense. Suddenly there's Wedge in there in one scene, like in a 2-second scene in the final battle. And there's
did he die?
No, he's just in a fucking shoots. I don't know. I think Lando shoots something down, and you see a shot of Wedge in the cockpit of a fighter, and he's like, "Good shot, Lando," and that's it. And he's gone. And like, and I was saying, was that what? And it's the same actor.
Yeah, that guy's
from the first Star Wars movie. And it's like,
guy's from my hometown.
Oh,
okay, interesting.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But like I didn't even notice that. Like I had no clue.
I noticed. I was like, is that
I
fucking
noticed.
Wedge? Why the fuck did they? What for that small scene? Okay, you know, if they established that in an interesting way, they would have gotten a big pop out of hardcore fans. But it felt so fucking unnecessarily thrown in there and so cheap and dumb.
It's like the moment where that clown dude dies. You know, the clown guy who flies with Lando in Return of the Jedi. He gets snuffed, I think, in that final battle, doesn't he?
I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, what's his, like, Chubnub or whatever his fucking name is. Like, I don't know. I think that literally is his name, Chubnub.
Yeah,
Who's
Chubnub or whatever.
J.J. Abrams' buddy, like the fat guy.
Yeah, Greg Grunberg. Is that his name?
They really they gave him so much screen time. Yeah, Snap Wexley or something. They not only gave him so much screen time, but they gave him like an emotional death. Like we should care about him. Like they have like Paul almost crying out when that dude dies. I'm like, where's that guy? Like I had no clue.
Yeah, fucking Chubnub gets nothing. He just gets randomly blown up.
Snap Wexley is getting like an emotional hero's death because he's JJ's buddy. It's like, what the hell is going on in this movie?
Oh man. Well, I guess Porkins got the fat guy. But Jesus, that always bugs me about the original Star Wars. The fat guy was called Porkins. Come on, George Lucas.
And he got fed later too. Yeah, but overall, I don't know. How do you feel about this in regards to this being the conclusion to the Skywalker saga?
It's also something. It's like nobody was asking you to make this the conclusion. Like you could just like make another movie.
Yeah.
We know for sure that like they're already setting up another movie inside this movie, right? They're setting up like the Lando story or whatever with with his daughter, which is probably like on Disney Plus or something.
Yeah. But he's too old. He won't last like that much longer, I think. He can barely talk.
But I don't see. Yeah. They don't just. It's not like they're gonna stop making Star Wars movies. Like
no, but apparently it feels like this story now is kind of finished with Rey at the end, you know, saying blah blah blah. Okay, I'm Skywalker, whatever. But
how can it be the end of the Skywalker saga when Rey is literally declaring herself Skywalker at the end of the film?
I guess because she's not a real one. Who cares, really?
Yeah.
At this point, who gives a shit? That's the final finish line for that movie. Who gives a shit? Like you didn't make me care.
That's the main point. Like I stopped caring. Like I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, but like I really like The Last Jedi and really like and I'm enjoying this world and everything. And here's like, nope, I'm not enjoying it anymore. I don't really care. It's just another blockbuster. And in that way, it feels way too fastly paced. Like I kind of like J.J. Abrams' movies. Like I like the first Star Trek. I like Mission Impossible. That those movies are good. But this definitely doesn't work to his strengths, morely to his weaknesses.
I've actually, you know, let all its movies go through my head after watching this, and I think the only J.J. Abrams movie I really like is Mission Impossible 3. Everything else of his, lost to an extent, some parts of that maybe, but I wasn't a big fan of Super 8. I did not super like the both Star Trek movies. I like the third one the best that is not made by him. And then, the Force Awakens was okay, but again, that for me, that was just fucking episode 4 again. And then Last Jedi had some interesting things, but also some things that didn't work for me, like the Canto Bight shit with the casino and everything. I just didn't care about that. And just all, the whole thing of Star Wars, the new trilogy, just I never got that engaged with the new trilogy. It's better than the prequels still, in my opinion, in terms of writing, mostly. But I never got that engaged with that movie, with those three movies.
These days now, I'm going to disagree. I think that the prequel trilogy, I think was a bit better than this one, because whilst those, definitely have faults, George Lucas had a clear idea for what he wanted to do in the prequels.
True, kinda, I
for
guess.
so everything kind of made sense, and although those definitely aren't perfect films, at the end when you have Obi-Wan and Anakin fighting and stuff, and it has this kind of really cheesy but kind of enjoyable Shakespearean aspect to it, that was really fun. And the third film, The Revenge of the Sith, was actually a really good finale. I mean, it basically gave you pretty much everything you kind of wanted to see. You got to see Yoda battle the Emperor and a whole bunch of lightsaber fights and all this betrayal. That was just a really fun payoff to that trilogy, whereas this is a naff payoff.
Yeah, I guess the execution of the prequels was sometimes really, really bad, and the acting and the dialogue wasn't good. But you're right, there at least was some kind of coherent vision there. And in this trilogy, it feels like it just goes back and forth between different ideas and doesn't really know where it's going.
Yeah, indeed.
It feels like chaos.
It's like, please, people, if you're gonna do a Star Wars trilogy, for fuck's sake, make a roadmap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This happens.
Marvel
in the first
can do
movie,
it.
This
apparently,
happens in the second movie, and this happens in the third movie. Is it that difficult to have a general vision and then just to carry that vision out? Apparently, it is. Jesus Christ, I don't know.
DC couldn't pull it off. They couldn't pull it off. I guess Marvel are the super exceptions here, because they've been doing it since fucking Iron Man, and it worked out so far mostly. So with a few,
I think
tough spots in between.
Babu Frick could put it off, but then again, saying that, I mean, to actually pull off someone, Babu Frick would have to put his whole body around, the dick, I guess.
So do we quickly want to, before we get to our last main dish, quickly rattle off some movies or some franchises that also got ruined by their endings?
I wouldn't say ruined, but I'm going to go first with this. I know some people were actually really mad about this ending, right? And about Game of Thrones as well. And sometimes people were actually really frothing at the mouth and whatever. And for me, I was pretty mad the first time I finished Mass Effect 3. I was way too much into that game. I know for sure that I was obsessed with the Mass Effect franchise for for half a year. And I literally played all those games in the same period of time, right before 3 came out. I started going into Mass Effect 4 months before 3 came out, and then I played all the games and watched all the listened to the audiobooks and read the comic books. So I was a super fan for that period of time. And then the third one got out, and it ended so badly. And I was enjoying it right up till the end, and it ended really badly. And it was oh fuck, I was so mad. I was literally mad. And now I think it's not even that bad of an ending. It's better than Star Wars. Because at least before, the problem with that is that they build up this. It's a problem that I'm gonna say is the same with Game of Thrones. They build up this impossibly strong enemy that there's no way they could beat. So the odds are so high, and then they had to write a way out of there so that they can beat him, and it never feels earned, because you just said that this enemy is unbeatable, but now you find the beat this enemy button somewhere all of a sudden. That doesn't make sense. So yeah, that's the problem they had. But at least still they had at least some good character editing there. Right before the final mission, you can still talk to your crew and say goodbye to them. So they have the time that a Star Wars doesn't, so to actually say goodbye to all the different characters right before the ending. So at least looking back on it, it feels at least still more satisfying than a lot of these other endings.
Also the final assault was bullshit as well, because there's that whole scene where you're doing the whole running thing, and a lot of your crew members get killed, And if you've been playing those games since the first one, or like me, since the second one to the third one, you kind of, I guess you have some emotional connection to them, or you like those characters, and to see them get killed like that is terrible. But I mean, people die, and it is the third one in the trilogy and the last one. So yeah, I mean, that's not such a bad thing. But the way they're just arbitrarily killed, just running up this hill or whatever, and what makes it worse is that if you had played, like, what was it, the online multiplayer component or whatever it was,
Oh yeah.
like you could build up, and you knew if you did that, less of your characters would die, and it's just
You could also do it in the single player if you did a lot of side missions, which is what I did. So I didn't have that problem. But it's weird that, like, in the online multiplayer you can build up points so that your character in the single player might survive. It's just like, it feels like very forced, like, by EA to make you play the multiplayer, which, by the way, wasn't that bad. Pretty good multiplayer. But like, for a game that was like built on decision making and stuff like that, and with a lot of emotional deaths as well. Like, there are some characters that can die in the first one, and in other people's games can go all the way to the third game. Like, but in my game, they died in the first game, and I never saw them again. So like, there were some emotional deaths in that series. But yeah.
I actually, right now, my daughter is playing Mass Effect 3. She played through 2, and now she's playing through 3. That's what she's currently doing. She's quite into that. But like, I was really surprised to see Jack in Mass Effect 3, because she died in Mass Effect 2 for me. I was like, oh wow, it's really interesting to see her in the third game. Yeah. I'll go for one. I'll quickly reel off one myself. I think Jason Bourne was a terrible ending. So the original Bourne trilogy was actually pretty good and ended, pretty well with the Bourne Ultimatum. But when when Jason Bourne comes along, the fourth film, it's like really, like, perfect example of having one film too many and making a film for all the fucking wrong reasons. I mean, when you meet Jason Bourne in the fourth film, he's street fighting for a living. He's like beating the shit out of people for money. How does that link up with the character that you've been, that was in the original trilogy? There's no fucking way he'd be doing that. He wants to be as far away from violence as possible. That was his whole fucking character arc, right? He wanted to escape away from violence. Yeah, he's now beating people to a pulp and taking money. Like, what the fuck? And then at the best, like, example of just how bad that was is when you compare the ending of that film to the ending of the Bourne's best film, which is the second one, the Bourne Supremacy. So in the Bourne Supremacy, the best film, like, it concludes with like a great car chase, and it's great because you're like emotionally invested, and it's quite a realistic car chase. There's nothing really over the top going on there. They're just going through like this tunnel at the end and like smashing into each other and stuff. And then that ends with Jason Bourne basically T-boning the bad guy's car, aka Carl Urban's car, and then smashing it into an abutment. Then Jason Bourne gets out and he's like dripping with blood. He can barely walk, goes up, and then the bad guy is dead, basically, in his car, or has been injured. And he just basically watches the bad guy, breathe his last breath and die. And it's a really like emotionally cathartic moment, to finally have this revenge, which is rare for Jason Bourne because he doesn't go out to kill, but he wants to kill that guy specifically for what he's done. So that was a really good sort of realistic, somber, and cathartic moment. But in the fourth one, you have a car chase through Las Vegas, right? through the strip in Las Vegas. That has way too much CG in it, and basically they just plow through all the famous landmarks and blow up shit. Like it's like watching.
That was like an indestructible car.
Yeah. It's basically like watching like Fast and the Furious with all the fun taken out. And then that ends in the kind of the same way, where they end up crashing into this sewer or something, and then Jason Bourne gets out of his car the same way as in the second movie, and then the bad guy suddenly jumps out of his car like completely unharmed, and they have a fist fight to the death. And it's just like, you just watch that, it's like they completely missed the fucking spirit of the original films. Totally missed it. Like, so that was an awful wrap up to a franchise that I really enjoyed. Terrible.
It also
film.
came so much later. Like, it's not this weird, like, you feel like, oh, there's no like. Sometimes when like a movie, like a sequel or something comes so much later, you're like, oh, they really must love it. Like they really must have had a good idea. Like Mad Max, for example. It's like, oh man, they're coming back now. So after so much time, must have had it in like the back of their mind for so many years. And then the movie came out. It was like just not a bad Bourne movie. Like, but so yeah, it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah. Also, like while I'm on a roll, Return of the King, the Lord of the Rings. I don't like that movie, because when I think about, I mean, it's not terrible, but like when I think about Lord of the Rings these days, I always remember the first one and the second one. I can very rarely remember anything about the fucking third one because it's all been done before. Also, the whole thing with the eagles, where the eagles come and get them from the mountain. Why the fuck didn't they use those eagles to go up there in the first place?
Because Sauron would see them.
Boom, bitch!
Maybe, I guess.
That's it.
Shoot them down with his eye lasers.
Yeah, pretty much.
That he doesn't have.
That's why they needed to distract him with all the shit that you know, the one group did to let Frodo and Samwise walk up to it.
But
the entire war was like a distraction for them to get that ring and
pretty much
fire. It's okay. It works for me. Like I haven't seen it again in years. Like I always feel like, oh man, I should rewatch all the Lord of the Rings movies again, and then never get to it.
I watched the extended versions like 2 years ago in my Christmas break. They still hold up in my opinion. But you're right. Return of the King is kind of the weakest.
But also the end of Return of the King is the most boring thing ever. Like after all the action has Return of the King.
Yeah, no, I mean, which one? Because Return of the King, if I count correctly, has like 4 endings, 5 endings, maybe. Like it's.
And that's what I'm saying. That's the whole. Basically, as soon as the ring is destroyed, like until then, the movie was kind of fun. Although, like I kind of wrote as well. It like replayed a lot of like the battles and stuff from the previous ones. It's too much. It's just like there's no impact for me personally. But specifically the ending. It just keeps going and 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 going. It never stops.
Here's the thing. I like a good epilogue.
Me too.
so I really like that they really wrap up every character story pretty much, or at least the most important ones with, you know, a long, and that just felt super satisfying to me.
It feels...
you know. Yeah, just every different ending, like the ending where all the people fucking bow to the hobbits on top of the fucking fortress and whatever. That I got emotional when I watched that scene. Like I teared up because there was the music had hit the right at the right moment. I was like, this is really great. And then you get like this bittersweet ending where Frodo has to leave, like for the whatever Elven lands or whatever. So he basically dies. And then you get the kind of metaphorically, and then you get, you know,
maybe he gets Arya out of the way there. You don't know.
Yeah, I guess. And then he then you know, Samwise kind of finishes the story, and it just felt good. And I understand that if you sit your ass in a movie theater seat for like 3 hours, that can feel like an endless ordeal. But rewatching it, you know, cozy in my couch and just seeing this extended, you know, epilogue for the characters felt really good and satisfying. So I like that they took so much care wrapping this story up thoroughly.
It feels like a TV show, actually.
Yeah,
they gave so much time, and I think it's how much time you spent with those characters. It kind of makes sense if you see it as a traditional, especially if you watch the extended cuts, where it definitely almost is like a TV show.
It is definitely. It's a miniseries more than a movie.
So that makes sense. I didn't have a
Every
problem
movie is like 4 hours or something at least.
But, Emmanuel, did you have like an ending that you really disliked?
Well, it's a cheat because we got much more movies after in that franchise after that. But like, you know, Spider-Man 3 was probably one of my big disappointments because I liked the first 2 movies a lot, like the Sam Raimi movies. And then the third movie was like, what the fuck is this? This is exactly another example of trying to do too much in one movie and having too much fan input. And yeah, that's what happened here because, you know, originally Sam Raimi only wanted to do Sandman, and I think that movie would have been better for it. But then, we got Avi Arad, the producer, saying, no, you need this fence one for Venom, put Venom in there. And Venom didn't have anything, no place in that movie. Like, he shouldn't have been in there. Like, the whole story they set up, and even the Sandman story was kind of dumb, with, oh, by the way, I am the one who killed, Uncle Venom. Like, what the fuck? But they could have done something really interesting with that if they had the time to focus on that character.
I like some of the Sandman stuff, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the moment where he's like turns to sand and he tries to...
Yes, everybody mentions
the wedding ring and it falls to his hand.
Yeah, it's probably the best part of the movie.
The entire movie was like just a setup for Morbius. I didn't expect that.
Whatever, but I liked some parts of that movie, like that what they were trying to do, but it was all pulled down underground by just sticking Venom in there and trying to wrap up the fucking Harry Osborn storyline as well at the same time. There was too much stuff in there, and nothing felt earned and nothing felt emotionally rewarding. It was just a giant mess that felt stitched together, just like the newest Star Wars movie. But I was more engaged with the Spider-Man franchise at that point. That's why I was actually kind of mad at that movie. Well, I'm not mad at Star Wars because I just don't give a shit.
But yeah, he danced really cool.
And thank God the Amazing Spider-Man 2 learned from those lessons.
Definitely. Yeah, that's maybe I don't know that what makes Spider-Man 3 look better nowadays, because we got 2 shitty Spider-Man movies after that, and but now we got a lot better ones. Homecoming and Far From Home were
and of course Morbius. Don't forget about Morbius.
Fucking Morbius. Listen, the trailer doesn't look half bad in the sense of it just looks like Venom. So it's probably gonna be a dumb, stupid, maybe fun time. I don't know.
I don't know.
Probably the same
like
people.
The best superhero movie from 1998. That's what.
Yes, exactly. It looks very dated. But like I said, it could be fun. I just don't understand what they're trying to do. Like, where's this? Is this connected to the MCU? Is it not? Why is Vulture there?
Who's sitting on the Iron Throne?
Who is sitting on the Iron Throne? Exactly. Who is sitting on the Iron Throne? Choo choo.
Wow. My girlfriend.
He's confused by the ending of Game of Thrones.
No, that's what I thought you were talking about. My dick. That's literally what I call my dick. My dick is the Iron Throne, and women are very welcome to come sit on it. You can be my queen.
You're trying to say it's uncomfortable, and the people that sit on it often die early.
Yeah.
Okay, if you say so. And then it gets hurt by a dragon. Okay.
Okay.
If you say so.
Interesting.
All right. So
it's the cause for most of the pain in the world and wars.
So let's talk about Game of Thrones then. Yes, Game of Thrones has finished. Where to fucking begin with Game of Thrones? Did you guys like
you when Game of Thrones finished?
Me, I was sitting on the sofa watching Game of Thrones. Where the fuck were you?
I was sitting in the movie theater watching Game of Thrones.
Oh, poor man. I hope you didn't pay money for that.
Oh, no, I didn't pay money for it. I actually made money from it. So that's pretty
What?
Cool. They gave out free tickets and I got 2, and the friend I was going with didn't have time, so I sold one of them. Yeah, it was fun to see it in the theater. It's like the last episode, which is kind of the most boring episode of that season. Like, there's no cool stuff happening. But
there was one in between.
The disappointment was very obvious in the entire room. Like, you feel
palpable.
Yeah, you feel the disappointment around you. And people walking out angry, legit angry. So yeah, that was kind of entertaining. I already knew it was probably going to be bad, and I was pretty disappointed with the season in general. So, but it was it was something at least.
Well,
it was better than nothing.
I quite liked some of it. Like, a lot of the season I really enjoyed. So again, positive stuff first. I guess you guys are going to rag on the way that the White Walker stuff ended, but I thought that was an excellent battle.
I like that too.
Yeah, I like it as well.
I mean, it was kind of stupid that all of the side characters were dying like 20 times. Like, and then, oh no, they're alive again. Like, getting fucking flooded by White Walkers, and then, no, they're okay.
I definitely watching it, like, the first time. Like, the episode before that is my favorite episode of the season. Like, the episode before the final battle.
That was fantastic.
It was fantastic.
Not only of this season, but it's one of the best Game of Thrones episodes, period. Because
like,
all the character lines are running together, all the plot lines, and then you have, like, this really intimate, nice moments between the characters. The stuff with where Podrick starts singing and the one song is fucking fantastic. The scene where Brienne gets knighted is fucking amazing.
That was my favorite moment. Like, I literally, like, I got legit emotional when that moment when Brienne got, like, knighted there. And she was so good at the acting, and it's like the beginning of that where she's like, she almost feels like they are joking because you can see that she distrusts people by the way they treated her, and then when she finally actually believes it, that the happiness on her face, very emotional, great moment, like the best moment of that season, and like one of the better moments of the show. And it's also set up like all those emotional moments. Like, oh my god, people are gonna die in the next episode. Like, not everybody that we see today is gonna make it out, and then everybody made it out, which is kind of disappointing.
Well, not everybody.
No, Jorah died, didn't he?
So Jorah died, definitely. So someone else died. One of the people from the, I guess,
Night's Watch.
New Night's Watch, but not really from the Brotherhood.
Those were that.
Side characters, though.
Dendarian. Ben
Beric Dondarrion, yes.
Yeah, he died.
Yeah, he died.
And the Night's Watch guy too. I've forgotten his fucking name, but do you know the Jon Snow's friend?
Yeah, but the most important Ed, I think. But the most important ones didn't. Theon dies too.
That was a pretty.
That was an important one, and that was a good scene because that's the thing. Game of Thrones has well-realized character arcs, and Brienne's was probably the highlight. Like, that was everything her arc was leading up to, kinda, because that's what she was struggling her whole life with: being recognized as a knight, being recognized for her efforts, not being recognized for her gender, whatever. Making her own way in this world, and being struggling through all the prejudices and all of that. And then she gets knighted by the person she probably adores the most, and that's such a rewarding, amazing scene. And when that happened, I was like, oh my god, they're gonna do it. Actually, they're gonna pull it off. If this whole season is gonna be full of moments like this, is gonna be amazing. Fuck, I was so happy at that moment. And then in the scene after the long night, which I still liked, they fucking destroy all of that. Kinda.
No, I don't think so.
Well, they have fucking, she and Jamie get together, which wasn't really necessary because I feel like, there was some sexual tension between them, but that was not necessarily what their relationship was built on, or that was not the most important thing about their relationship. The most important thing came before the battle, and it was already kind of resolved. Mutual respect, whatever, all that thing. And then it's like they sleep together, and he's like, no, I'm a hateful person, I'm gonna go back to my sister because she's actually the person I love, because we're the same, and blah, and then leaves Brienne behind, and she cries, and then and like, what the fuck just happened? I was so fucking floored.
I totally got that. Like that made sense to me. That's what Jamie Lannister. I think that's what Jamie. Well, when Cersei's in deep jeopardy like that, like I understood that about Jamie Lannister. Like this obsession he can't let go.
I get that,
but and ultimately Cersei is more important to him than Brienne is. I understood that. I mean, I think basically you feel like that because you really like Brienne, and you like
I do. But I also like Jamie's development in that show, and I feel like he already grew past that point at this.
I don't know,
and then
but
suddenly they walk it back.
I can understand the fallback, like, oh, he is finally moving on, and then he falls back to it. I can understand that, but I think it should have had more time, or like at least more focus on it. Like I feel like in this show, definitely, I never had to make up fan explanations for stuff people doing, but in the final season I had to do that a lot for decision making, and that's not even the worst one. That's definitely Daenerys turning evil, which I was predicting the entire show, but they never really gave hints to it all that much. They loved that character too much to give hints to her turning evil, and then all of a sudden, oh, now I'm evil now.
Yeah, she falls
Yeah,
apart
but
completely only in the final season, and that in the course of like 2 episodes or something.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking rushed. It's so not well hinted at. It's not built up at all. And that's one of the things, like, in the series, you feel, at least starting from the 4th episode forward, you feel like Benioff and Weiss definitely want to get out of this shit to make Star Wars or something. Like, they're done with Game of Thrones. HBO wanted to make more. They were okay with doing 9 seasons. But Benioff and Weiss were done. They want to wash their hands off. They're done with Game of Thrones. They're finished. That story needed one more season. Like, doing this season, doing all the stuff, finishing this season off with the battle against the White Walkers would have been a good point, I guess. Or doing a bit more after that, but not much. And then the next season focusing fully on the downfall of Daenerys and the wrap-up with Cersei. That would have been, pacing-wise, probably better, and character story-wise, better. The ingredients are there. The problem is they're so fucking jammed together, and the pacing is so fucking rushed that a lot of the shit doesn't make sense that happens. And yeah, like Rex said, Daenerys is the worst offender in that regard, because in the books, in my opinion, there are some hints there. Where it's like every time her father is mentioned, like the Mad King, she gets really defensive. She really is like, no, fuck it, I don't believe what you people say about him. This is my family, blah blah blah. And she, you get her more extreme viewpoints come across more, because there are a lot of chapters that are actually shown from her point of view. So in the books, you can maybe, if we get to that point in the story that we got into in the series at this point, we can understand her motivation, and we can understand her fanaticism that imbues her and that gives her power and whatever, and that drives her. In the series, she is kind of like a messiah person up to this point, and then suddenly, woof, turn. We can guess why this happens. Some of that stuff is understandable. The problem is the series doesn't explain it. We have to deduce that ourselves. We have that she is crushed by the weight of all on her shoulders. She is in a foreign land. Nobody likes her. Her friends get killed. All that stuff. But all that stuff happens so fast and doesn't have any time to breathe that it just fucking kills all the emotional engagement.
It's got that Star Wars thing going on, in the Revenge of the Sith. As fun as Revenge of the Sith is, to go back to Star Wars, it has that thing where Anakin's like, I'm okay. I need to join the dark side, and 5 seconds later, I'm just gonna kill all these children. Like, it's like
from 1 to 11.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that with Daenerys. I can understand why she does it, and also, I think it's great that she does do it. That's fantastic. What better villain to have than Daenerys? But like you say, it just happens. It's just the way it happens. It's just like snaps, and then it's just like it just doesn't feel earned. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel earned. The way that she destroys King Landings. I mean, I can understand if she went crazy and decided she was going to kill Cersei. Okay, I'm on board with that. But going through the streets and killing all the civilians and shit, like, what?
Yeah, again,
that doesn't make any fucking sense.
If you put some thought into it, you can again understand, because her worldview is that those people are enablers. They are the people who let Cersei stay in power, and she thinks like, okay, if I don't kill them, this will happen again. I need to clean house. I have to make a new order. Kind of like Kylo Ren's motivation, like tear it all down, all the old systems. I'm gonna be the new supreme thing. I'm gonna make a new order where everyone is more happy because the old power structures are gone, and that makes sense. The problem is, again, everything she does before that is save people. Like, everything she's the fucking what was her not Khaleesi, but what people call her in Marine, like mother, where she frees the slaves. Yeah, whatever. When she frees the slaves, like Misa or something. That was
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Scenes like that all the time. She is kind of goody two shoes from beginning to end. She's the superhero of the story, and then just from one moment to another, bam, like you said. And there's just no decent lead up to it.
Well, but the thing is, what you just said there about her, ripping everything down, like, that sounds like good motivation. But the thing is, like, she never even had any conversations about it.
Exactly. It's just other people saying that stuff about her. It's Tyrion saying that stuff about her. It's Varys saying that shit about her. It's everybody talking about that, but you never get an insight that's actually what's going on with her. It's only people telling you about it. It's a lot of tell instead of show. So it's like, okay, we kind of believe you guys, but we don't really see it.
I mean, she could have had at least like one argument with Tyrion or something about it. Do you know what I mean?
I guess. Yeah, I mean, there is some semblance where he tries to argue for certain things and she shoots him down. But again, those are still, reasonable stances she takes there in certain regards. And it's never, some things are just never addressed, like you said. It's like glossed over.
That's like,
You're talking about the story of Daenerys so much. But like, let's be honest. Who has a better story than Bran?
Bran the Broken. Yeah, fucking.
No, it feels kind of rushed at the end. And they're like, okay. We have somebody on the throne there or something. And they like some people were like thinking about like a democratic like system, and then somebody like offers that like in the ending, and everybody laughs at it. That was kind of funny, but yeah, it's kind of bad. Like I feel sorry for them because like it's gonna be hard. It's already hard to adapt like a super complex like fantasy story with like limited budget and everything when the books are already out. But having to do that without a book, it's near impossible. So I'm not like mad at them for fucking it up.
Get better writers. I don't know. A lot of that shit came from their fucking feather, quill, whatever. But yeah, but fucking, I've read up about some stuff like DB and Weiss and Benioff didn't do really anything before this. They were totally newbies, and all of that.
They wrote some decent books. He wrote,
I guess, but a lot of that
Hour, which is a good book / movie.
Yeah, but a lot of that shit was like first time thing for them. Everything in terms of production, and considering that being the case, like the first couple of seasons being as amazing as they are, is a fucking miracle. And kudos to them to pulling that off. I'm just wondering, hey, if you knew that you needed some help once the book ran their course, just fucking get it. Like, you could have gotten so many good writers who were willing to work on this hit show. This all feels like hubris. Like, we can do it on our own, we can make it, and then by the end, we don't want anymore, and we can finish this in like one season. And this just feels like arrogance to me, and that makes me angry.
I don't know.
I thing is, like, whilst it is qualified, whilst there are some, whilst it is ultimately disappointing, mainly for the lack of character development in crucial areas, like the most crucial being the way that Daenerys goes bad. I mean, it needed a few more episodes. It needed more development or time to grow for that idea to grow, from a seed into to bloom or whatever. But ultimately, I don't feel it was as terrible as some people say. I mean, overall, I think it was okay. I was still entertained by it.
Sure.
For me, the defining image of that season and one of my favorite images from all of Game of Thrones is after the battle where Daenerys is like up the top of the steps, addressing her armies. Even the horse guys are down there. Didn't they all fucking get killed?
But also there were still some left or whatever.
I guess so. Yeah, but like that scene, like where she's up the top of the stairs and stuff, addressing her army, and then Tyrion does the really awesome badass thing of throwing his pin down the stairs or whatever. And just that whole aftermath as well, with like the snow and the way when Jon Snow is going to meet Daenerys, the dragon like comes out of the snow and stuff. That whole kind of like feeling of like, this is how it feels after the world has ended type of thing. I love that. Like that, those were really awesome visuals that really stuck in the memory. So when I think about the end of Game of Thrones, actually, like, I think of those. The first thing I think about are those really, really cool images. So I thought parts of it were badass, man.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I still liked some of the episodes in there. Like, second episode was fucking great. Long night, the battle, some weird things aside, like John yelling at the fucking dragon. What were you thinking? What would happen? But this I like that Arya was actually the one who got to finish off the Night King. I thought that was pretty great. It was kind of surprising, and it kind of fits her character arc. She's become, like, her journey was becoming this badass assassin, so who better to sneak up on a fucking super monster than the fucking badass assassin? So some people were complaining about that. It was like, no, little girl couldn't kill the fucking evil king. I was like, no, that's what her whole fucking journey is about. She becomes this fucking badass, and of course she's gonna be the one who kills her. Either him or Cersei. I don't give a shit. But yeah, so that was fine with me, and I liked that ending actually, even though it was like it was the mothership thing again, where you have this one thing that you have to kill, and everyone else like falls. Sure, but that was fine with me. I liked that. And, there were some scenes that were badass when fucking Daenerys torches the whole fucking army of King's Landing. Like, where she comes through the gates from behind, and the whole fucking army on horseback get fucking torched to death. That was a great scene. All well set up. I like that shit. And, yeah, and there are some parts in the ending that are kind of nice. Sansa becoming the Lady of she was already the Lady of Winterfell, but becoming the Queen in the North. It was pretty nice. It was kind of a good conclusion to her arc. And Arya traveling the seas, I could take it or leave it, but sure, why not? Bran stuff felt weak. Jon made sense, kinda, because he wasn't never really part of this land after a while, and then him hanging with the wildlings makes sense in a way. There was some stuff in there that I liked. I liked the final scene in the fucking at King's Landing with the council, with Tyrion there, and Bronn being the master of coin now, which is kind of dumb, but also really fun. So I like them just hanging out together and talking, and, Brienne being there, and now being a King's Guard. Oh, that was nice and felt good. So I didn't mind that. It's just that with some of the most important things in the show, you could have done so much better. And that's mostly what I took away from it. It was like, this was good in parts, but there were so many missed opportunities to make it even better, a lot better. And that's kind of a shame. It's like, yeah, okay, we got an ending, but it could have been a lot better, guys, if you'd taken your time. So that's kind of a shame.
I agree. I mean, it's disappointing in places, but I a couple of more badass points. The whole stuff with the Hound was awesome during. That was pretty cool as well.
The Gain Ball? You really felt like that?
Oh,
Yeah,
I
awesome.
like them fighting. It was kind of fun.
I felt that was unnecessary. It was not the Hound's arc anymore.
Oh,
like
man.
that was the fans wanted. They always, from beginning, they wanted a showdown between the two brothers, but that's not what Sandor's story is about at some point really anymore. That's not really.
I think it would be more fun if he was protecting Arya at the same time or something.
Yes.
I think that would have made sense. Felt more earned.
Yes,
but,
exactly.
In general, I didn't have that much of a problem with it. The Mountain was the Hound was one of my favorite characters as well.
Definitely.
I think he at least went out like a badass. Like so.
He did, but again, like I said, they could have done a better thing. Like you said, if he was protecting Arya, sacrificing himself for Arya, that would have totally made sense. It would have been a great endpoint to his character. And he kind of does this by sending her away, but doesn't feel the same thing. Like if she was, I don't know, held by the throat by the mountain for some reason, and then he just tackles the mountain, and they both go down and then fall into the flames. That would have been a much better scene. So much easier. I came up with it on the fly. Why didn't you do it that way?
I don't want to see them both go down on the fly. Jesus. But one of the things that got me, like what I thought was fucking badass when I saw it was like during the whole Night King thing, and like they're getting so much success against the White Walkers, like earlier on in the battle and stuff, and they're really sort of like they're starting to kick ass and stuff. And I was thinking to myself, oh well, they're not really making the White Walkers look like so much of a threat. I mean, they are a massive threat, but they don't seem so much of a threat. And then the Night King does that whole thing of raising the people that have been killed.
Yeah, it was great.
I totally forgot about that. And then he did it. I was like, oh shit, now they're fucked. I was like, oh no. That was just so, it caught me by surprise because I forgot about it. It's so bad. I was like, yeah, this is why they're so dangerous. I get it.
One thing though, how when you're fighting an army of the dead, why would you hide in a fucking crypt?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was pretty.
Tyrion the master planner.
Yeah, they also made Tyrion kind of dumb in the last season as well. That was kind of a shame. He was always the smart guy. I think that's the problem I have most had with this season. I think I'd like more character-focused entertainment, right? Like that's what I like. I follow the characters, and I really, when the characters make decisions that I really feel are the decision that character would make, that's the most disappointing. And I've definitely felt that the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones even, that they feel like, oh, we need to do this for the plot, but not something that the character would actually do. The character would think this is a dumb idea.
Either because it was not, built up well enough, established well enough, or just didn't plain make any sense for the character to do that. You're right. There was a lot of that stuff in there. And yeah, it was kind of a shame. I also didn't like the ending to Jaime's and Cersei's story. Kinda felt also a little bit lost. I mean, I understand that they're the doomed children, whatever, but I don't know. It was weirdly like I always expected, and I don't know if they forgot about that, but the witch Cersei visits as a child and tells her that she will die with the hands of her brother at her throat, and she always thought Tyrion was meant by that, right? That he would kill her, and that's why she drove him away and whatever, and tried to kill him herself. But I always expected that to be Jaime in the end, and that he would kill her for some reason, because she would do something so despicable, something so bad that even he couldn't take, even though he loved her. And that would be like the thing, and her realization, oh my god, he is the brother who kills me. He was it all the time. And that would have been a fucking great scene, and that didn't happen. And yeah, I was weirded out by that, because I felt like that was one of the things that they would do at the end. So that prophecy didn't mean anything, I guess. It's weird.
Remember that part? I don't remember that part.
It gets brought up not in the series so much. There's one important scene where it shows us, and she mentioned this like one time after that or before that. But in the books, it gets brought up constantly.
Are you sure that happened in the TV show?
Yes, it did actually. It happened in the TV show.
I remember the prophecy saying like you will bury all of your children or whatever, but I don't remember the whole thing of like dying by your brother's hands.
Maybe they keep that actually out of the series. That's true. Maybe I just remember that from the books and put it in the series anyway. It's the same prophecy. Like she mentions those 2 things. Like you will see your children die, and you will die with your brother's hands at your throat. Definitely gets mentioned in books. I don't know if they mentioned that part in the series. So maybe, it didn't work.
I think in the series, as far as I can remember, it was like you will see your children die, but the part with the brother's hands, like I don't remember that. Like,
but it always, but that's why it made always a lot of sense for her to hate Tyrion that much. Besides him looking like the way that and killing their mother,
Yeah.
But because she was also afraid of him because of that prophecy. And so I thought that was in the series as well.
She thought he killed Joffrey.
Yeah, that too. No, even before that, she hated him from starting when they were kids, and that was one of the reasons why she hated him and why she despised him, and shunned him. So that's probably why I thought it was in the series as well. That's a specific thing, but maybe it wasn't. But yeah, that was one of the things I was expecting, and that didn't happen. And then it was then them being buried under stones, but having still perfectly fine faces and no wounds when Tyrion just fucking drags them out of the rubble, like puts a few stones away, like 1 or 2 stones, and then they are looking perfectly fine, just dead, asleep, and I was like, what? Okay, sure. Can't harm the actors too much, I guess. And also Jaime basically being killed by one of the dumbest asshole characters in the show. It's such a disappointment.
Oh, he kills him, right?
Oh,
both. No, he gives him a deadly wound.
No. Jaime dies from the bricks.
Yeah, but no, he gets wounded before that by a fucking sword to the fucking kidney. He was dying already. He was dying. He was bleeding like a fucking stung pig. No, he was dying. So yeah, and then the bricks did the rest because he stayed with Cersei, but still he was already dying. He was on his way out, and so he was like, who gives a shit? But yeah, all of that felt kind of unsatisfying. So yeah, there were some good things in there, but that definitely wasn't one of them.
Yeah. And I was really surprised in the ending when Babu Frick ended up on the throne. I was like, oh my god. He was like, hey! And it's like, oh.
Would have been an upgrade. Yeah. I mean, I guess it could have been worse. It can always be worse, but it also could have been a lot better, is my takeaway from the end of Game of Thrones. And I wonder if we'll ever, if George R. R. Martin will ever finish the books and if those will get a better ending.
Yeah, no.
We'll see.
They probably will finish the books at some point.
I heard just recently the release date or something of the newest ones has been.
Yeah, but is that the last one or the second to last one?
I think it's the second to last one, maybe.
Yeah. Winds of Winter has been announced for ages, and for like 5 years now or something, or 6 or 7, since the fucking series started, and he hasn't really made any grounds, I think. So we'll see if Dream of Summer will ever come out.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Dream of Spring.
So that's our opinion on Star Wars and Game of Thrones and bad endings in general. But what's your opinion, or valued listener? So if you have any thoughts on either of those two series or any other bad endings, please sound off in the comments section. And please join us next time Trump tries to start World War III. So the day after tomorrow then.